Ulysses Ruse is wanting to know, are we going to be hit here in the Carolinas by Florence? So I'll let you answer that and kind of go into what's going on in the tropics here.
Okay, well, I appreciate the question. Thank you, Scotty. And the answer to that question right now is we just don't know. It's too far in the future to be concerned about it right now. There's a lot of factors, a lot of steering mechanism as it gets towards Bermuda in time. And I'm going to go ahead and do some screen share, and we'll talk a little bit about this. Let me know when you can see it, guys. Everyone good?
Yep,
I got it, Shea.
Okay. So Hurricane Florence, our first major hurricane of the 2018 season, winds up to 130 miles per hour, category 4, 953 millibars. It underwent rapid intensification since yesterday, so the storm really blew up, which tells us that there's a lot of warmth at the surface. There's a lot of fueling mechanism for the system. Even though it is underneath an area of upper shear, it's still holding as a very strong hurricane. Look at the water vapor imagery, the shortwave infrared imagery as we go from daytime to nighttime. We see a very healthy system with a solid eye. We see the outflow as well, the radial outflow occurring, which means it has healthy outflow aloft. So the exhaust system over the top is very healthy. The one thing that we are seeing is upper shear, which the NHC initially believed might be an inhibitor of convection and an inhibitor of strengthening for the system, but it being a little bit more compact and smaller in size allowed it to grow more. We're still seeing on the southwestern western quadrant of the system, or even the southern quadrant, a little bit of dry air, a little bit of shear blocking that outflow to that direction. But if you look to the north and the northeast, you see this explosion of convection, really all the cirrus tops really flaring off to the north really quick, and that's because of that upper shear line. Looking at the sea surface temperatures, very warm out there. We're in the 80s. It's somewhere between 83 and 88 degrees overall. It's going to be heading towards warmer waters. It's actually over favorable waters. 82.4 degrees is sort of the magic number. 84.2, I'm sorry, not 82.4. And as it heads to the west-northwest, it's going to be moving over an even warmer body of water, which is why the NHC keeps this as a major hurricane going through Friday. Maybe a little bit of a weakening phase due to upper shear and maybe a little bit of ingestion of dry air. But then as it goes to the west, it is expected to re-intensify again because of the warmer waters below and possibly it getting out from underneath the upper shear loft. So this is the basic track. Beyond this NHC track that we see, we don't want to speculate too much about whether or not this is going to be a coastal hit or not. It just means that we don't want to get too far past this. Model runs get very erroneous after 3 to 5 days out. It's too much to say that we're going to be looking at a coastal hit. Sea surface temperatures, once again, we see where Florence is right about here, moving towards the warmer water. We'll look at the European model run from today. There's going to be another one tonight. We're watching these very closely. This is just one deterministic run, so we can't take this at face value. We see Florence moving towards the Bahamas with the blue circle right here. This is the 500 millibar plot, and this is what we're going to be looking at a lot because as it gets towards Bermuda, and those folks in Bermuda really need to be watching this, this red right here represents a ridge, and this is clockwise motion around the ridge. We tend to get a little bit more of a westerly steer with systems that are underneath ridges because the general steering flow is in that direction. The big question is the latitude of the storm. Will it be able to get picked up by this trough here in the Atlantic or not? It looks like a lot of the models are keeping it a little bit south of that, but we do see that trough pinching off to an upper low in time. And if the ridge breaks down, it may be enough to pull it away from the coastline. The Euro solution to this has the ridge holding a little bit stronger, but that's not to be concerned because these models have been flip-flopping back and forth on the coast or off the coast, swinging out to sea. Majority of the ensembles right now are sort of pulling it out to sea, but we're just not entirely sure of that yet. If we look at the GFS, we see it coming in. This is by Monday next week towards Bermuda. The ridge is there, but then the ridge breaks down, and then we see sort of a transition now. The GFS earlier really pulled this out to sea, but if it slips down over Bermuda, that might push into the coastline. It's just too early to tell. Really, when we get this far out, we shouldn't really be speculating whether or not a coastal hit. What we need to do is focus on this map right here and where it's going to be on Monday. So as we get into the weekend, we'll probably have a much better idea of what's going on. Here's another couple of examples. Let me zoom in here. This is from weathernerds.org. I got this from Mike Boylan on Mike's weather page. If you haven't followed his page, give it a go. and see the Euro ensemble right here from today. And all these members within the model here are majority of them are keeping them off the coastline, curving out to sea. There are some outliers, so you can see the possibilities range anywhere from South Florida all the way up towards Nova Scotia. That's the range right now. And that doesn't even mean that it's going to hit the United States, but we can't pinpoint where or if at this point. Even the GFS, the GEFS ensemble, majority of them keep it out to sea, and that's of right now. But we're going to be watching these models run to run. There's no need to be of concern right now. I don't think we need to really go beyond this map right here. I think everybody should just be watching, just tune in, make sure that you're checking with your local meteorologist and get the facts. Don't be looking at articles that are blowing up headlines like the Carolina coast will be hit or Outer Banks is going to be hit or whatever news feed is coming through. There's a lot of sort of bad information out there, and we don't want to. Yeah, I know Jared says fake news, but a lot of it, some of it is fake news, absolutely. And Brad Panovich did a really good blog earlier. If you haven't looked him up, look him up. He's out of Charlotte. It's great. Did a great blog. And so we don't want to buy into these articles just yet. It was too much time, too many factors to even think about a coastal hit right now. Nothing to be concerned about, but just be watching and tuning in to your local meteorologist. If you don't have a hurricane plan in place, you should always, especially in the hurricane season being at the peak, which is September the 10th. This is normal activity to see an uptick in a spike in activity towards September the 10th. And even down into October, we keep the hurricane possibilities wide open. I think make sure you have your survival kit, an evacuation plan, have all that stuff in place, because you never know. If it's not Florence, maybe it's going to be another one in a week or two. We don't know. There's a lot of systems that have spawned off the African coast. Next one in line, I'll go ahead and share screen one more time because I didn't talk about this one, Invest 92L. And this one has a 70% chance next 48 hours, 90% chance next 5 days. This one is expected to slide to the west. If you look at the 5-day graphical, this is the path it's going to take, and it may take it a little bit uncomfortably close to the Windward and Leeward Islands, and even maybe towards the Bahamas. We're not sure yet. And see, even there, we're starting to talk about going too far out with the runs. We're going to stick with what the NHC has, at least for now. We have another disturbance. This may be Invest 93L. 0% chance 48 hours, 40% chance next 5 days. The next two storms on the list are Helene and Isaac. So that is pretty much it for the tropics. I'm going to go live on my Facebook page here in a little bit because there may be some people in a different audience that may want to tune in and find out what the latest is. There's a lot of hype out there, so don't buy into the hype right now. It's not a good idea. Just be aware that we're watching a system. That's what you need to know right now.
All right, thank you for that, Shea. Stephanie Rankin talking about, so I don't need to stock up on my bread and milk just yet, do I? Also, John Mossman was wanting to know about what was behind Florence, and so Shea talked about that. So thanks for everyone who's been tuning in via Facebook and Periscope. We've appreciated your comments and questions. And as Florence gets closer to kind of making a decision of what's going to happen, we will be following it here at the Carolina Weather Group and